All right, let's go over the most difficult part of an environment, which are the rocks, at least in my opinion. They, they are pretty much a character of their own, and it's what makes an environment look unique. So it's important that you study the geology of the location that you're trying to build and pay attention to what kind of material is made out of. How was it formed? And is it desertic or is it granite? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered when you study the environment. And then obviously later how you're going to texture it. It's also important what kind of rock texture is appropriate for that kind of rock. Okay, let's go into ZBrush. And as you remember last time, I started with a sphere and then slice error and just to get different shapes. Now I also like booleaning using the same pretty much shape, and I boolean around, and that's how I ended up with this. Next thing is maybe adding a little bit of a chipping around, just so it doesn't look too straight. I like to if I see a straight edge, I'll just go in and give it a little bump. This kind of rock is very easy to make because there's a lot of straight edges, and you can just have fun and chip it away. Then I go in decimate, so it looks, I guess, more defined, the sharpness. And I go ahead and Dynamesh again without any smoothing. Okay. As you can see now, I went and duplicated my rock several times, and I applied Boolean, and I ended up with this Boolean rock. I like that. I like to have a bunch of ins and outs, layers, as if that chunk just broke. Then I go apply a little bit of my textures just to give it a little bit more character. And I continue on with duplicating and booleaning, trying to create more variations of the same rock. It would have been better if I had created at least a couple rocks, but for the sake of speed, I only created one, and out of that one, I created many. And I just go and fix them little by little. So I ended up with 4 different rocks. They look quite similar, but that's all right. We just needed to mix them all together, mash them all together. So as you can see, I went in and duplicated my rock, and it's time to build a bigger rock out of these little ones. So I can just go and try to, I don't know, find a good spot for each. And let's be careful not to leave too many spots where there's gonna be holes. We don't want any holes. And this rock is pretty much gonna be a rotating rock, as you can see. So that's cool that I can just rotate it and have a different face. And let's just be careful with that. We don't want too much noise. Like for example, on this one, I have like a large flat face. And on the other side, I have like more broken down. I like it when there's a little bit of rest in between. So now you see me trying to fill in those holes as I'm trying to seal everything so it doesn't create issues when I Dynamesh. Okay, now I like to add little bits of organic patches, like bumps, stuff, as if there was a little bit of buildup here and there, and add more pieces so I fill in all the gaps, seal it really well. And then I like adding a little bit of like pebbles or signs. Or there are pebbles in there. Just it doesn't look too straight or too much of the same repetition. Break it up with a little bit of pebbles. All right, let's add some cracks and just break those big large shapes. It's also, let's not overdo it too much, so it doesn't look very noisy. I think we are ready to test the rock. So I'm gonna just duplicate this one and rotate it. It's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing in my level anyways. It works, but it will be better if we have another rock that has larger flat areas. This one looks way too noisy, but it definitely works. All right, we're gonna start decimating this rock and making the UVs. Last minute checks. Okay, so it's all good. Let's bring it into Maya, and the smooth edges will make it a little easier to do this part. So we go around in the crevices. Some people like like to do that to add an island on the edges of the rock. I like to do it in the crevices so it's hidden. Also go around if you see errors where there's lots of unwanted polygons. Just delete them, especially inside. So this is how it came out of our unwrap in ZBrush. I just go around and clean it up better because there's lots of jagged edges. So it looks a bit better, straighter. And I apply a material just for that. So every material is going to be an UV. I'm thinking maybe 3 materials for this rock. Because remember, this is a gigantic rock. It's pretty much like 20 meters. And I'm just gonna check textile density. Making sure 512 pixels per meter. And it seems that I'm gonna need to add a little bit more resolution, so I'm just gonna make it bigger. So if you don't know about that textile density, I recommend you study a little bit of that. It's really important especially in texturing. We're talking about texturing. We're gonna check in Painter or in Maya that we have per material. We're gonna have an island dedicated for each. So it works out in Painter. We don't want overlapping UVs or anything like that. Every island has to be separated. Every material. And it works out. And in the end, yes, I ended up with 3 materials. And if you are doing a unique paint, this will give you enough resolution rather than just making everything in one. You're gonna lose a lot of resolution if you do it in one. Well, in games, we don't usually do large objects like this, 1-to-1. We usually use masks. So what I'm gonna start making is I add a base, black base, and I'm gonna create a red channel, and in that red channel, I'm going to add an edgeware. right, and just to break it off, the edgeware, I'm gonna keep building my mask, a multiply on top of it, so it looks broken down. And this works, as you can see. We can change that and add more on top of it, and now it's not as noticeable, that edgeware. Some people like to add a lot of edgeware and it just reads gamey. Okay, so we have our red. Now let's do our green. If you can see, I go and add 0 to red, 0 to blue, and 1 to the green channel. 1, 0, and 1. Okay, and that's pure green. All right, so I'll add a generator, and in this generator, I'm gonna add dirt. I think it works out fine. Maybe keep adding a little bit more noises on top, so it's not as concentrated everywhere. And this is in Unreal. We're gonna add dirt, a colored dirt on our model. And last, I'm going to add a blue channel. So 0, 0 for red, 0 for green, and 1 for blue. That's pure blue. Add a generator. Maybe this will be like noise or something else. It could be whatever you want. This is good for adding different materials, different colors this way. Like I said before, large objects like this in games, we don't usually texture uniquely. We do pretty much masks like this. So what I'm trying to get is paint certain areas. Yep. Keep messing with this until I'm happy. Okay, yeah, this one seems better. Is I don't want to add that blue everywhere. Remember, this is gonna be a different color inside of the engine, so I don't want that everywhere. Okay, let's export our maps. We're gonna do a normal map, color map, and of course you don't have the masks separated. So we're gonna use the color map to break our colors. So I bring into Substance Designer, I bring in the color map, and what we want to is split the RGB channels. Yep, there you go. So RG and B goes into another RGB merge, and gonna add an extra map that I have here, and I just save it as extra. Easily you can end up with multiple textures. So more than 3 it gets chaotic, more than 3 materials. So let's bring in our extra map into Substance Designer and attach it to the alpha channel. And so in the end, we're gonna end up with multiple masks inside just one texture. Okay, so next thing, we're going to bring our masks, our normal, into Unreal. And I'm gonna make a basic very basic material just to explain to you what you can do with this. Okay, now in back in Unreal, I'm gonna show you the rock that I made. And I'm gonna test this in a much simpler rock like this one that I have. So it's not as chaotic. So I have just a normal map and a masks map. I'm gonna create a brand new material for this. Let's call it sample. And we're gonna bring in our masks and our normal map, the rock normal map. So as you can see, I have 1, 2, the green channel, 3, 4 masks that I can add colors and materials. And for this, we need to change this to masks, so there's no color information on this mask. Okay, let's attach our normal, the rock normal. And we're gonna add a color, maybe something in the gray. This is just to show you what we're going to do. Add a roughness of 1. Okay. And let's create our first channel, which is gonna be the red channel. I'm gonna copy this and gonna make a green channel. So it's 1 in the green, 0 on the red. There you go. Duplicate this one and add a blue channel. Okay. Now what we're going to do is use a lerp node. If you type the L and put the red channel of our mask into the alpha. And here he is. Now let's do that again for the green. And now we see the green in the crevices. And finally, we're going to add the blue. Remember, the blue goes into the alpha. And let's blend these two together. And now we see our RGB. So let's test it with our rock. Okay, and here it is, our RGB happy rock. All right, so I don't want that, of course. Maybe just to get to this point, it is, as you can see, is way complicated for me to show you. There will be a whole new tutorial. But essentially, I use a base material and then use my masks to blend between material functions, which is pretty much another material. Inside that material, there's more controls. So I blend more complex materials using this mask. And of course, it becomes more complicated because not only you are blending texture, but also colors, different roughness, different normal maps. And that's when it becomes a lot more complicated. Here, I'm just blending colors. All right, so let's bring some actual tilers, rock tilers that I found in the internet. And then going to blend overlay between these two colors. To get us a white eye outline. Let's close this thing. And add the, yeah, exactly. So as you can see, there's a little bit of an outline around the edges. That's what we want. So if we increase the color or make it closer to white, you would see it better. Now for the green channel, we're gonna add a multiply. I'm gonna multiply that one texture. I'm gonna get rid of the green now, because we no longer need it. Let's do a 0.5 or multiply. And you're gonna start noticing in the crevices that it's gonna look darker, which is pretty much what we want. We want some AO on our rock. And finally the blue, which we of course we don't want blue. Let's change that color for maybe a solid color, so it looks a little bit different. Let's add a tan on top of it. There you go. And what I'm going to do is maybe I want to control how much of that white is on top. So for now, I leave it up to on 0 and see how strong that color is on top. Of course, we don't want that. But if we change this to, let's say, 0.5, now our color or white color, it looks a little less. Now we are just using the normal map of our rock or bake that we did. So let's add first of all a texture coordinate and add it to all the UVs. Okay, let's blend in our two normals. So we do blend angle corrected, angle blend corrected normals, and our base is going to be, I guess our rock, and then we add on top our unique normal map, and then add it to the list and see how it looks. And there you go, our rock looks more believable this time. Yep, it's got a lot of texture. And so, I mean, you can build this into this. Now, I pretty much, I did my rocks like that because basically I was using, I took reference from one of the Megascans rocks that I found. But as you can see, it looks great, except that is super blurry, and that is a huge problem because in games we like to see things at really close distance, and as you can see, my rock has a lot of texture detail that you can see really up close, and I can make it even more detail if I wanted to. So you can see the difference between these two is really big in terms of blurriness. In terms of style, of course, the Megascan rocks are really good. They look really nice afar. If you're going to use smaller objects, I'm sure that those smaller objects have better resolution than the larger objects. That's why making rocks, it's got a very different approach than a regular small prop. And as you can see, all of those rocks that are at the distance are made out of this one rock. And this one rock right here, I was able to make all of these other rocks. So basically I only made 2 rocks and I got 8 different variations. So how did I go and do that? Well, there is a really cool tool inside of Unreal that lets you Boolean stuff. So let's look at it. I'm gonna select these 2 rocks, my main 2 rocks that I have. I'm gonna go to modeling and select one and select the other, and polymodel, Boolean, and as you can see now we can move our rock into the other one and get a different version of the rock. Of course, this is a weird looking blend. What we want to is change the blending type to intersection, and it works so much better. So let's test it. Maybe something like that. Move it around there. Okay, I like this one. And so just accept, and there you go. We have a brand new rock made out of course, two different rocks. And that's the cool part is that we can mix and match different rocks. So this is it. Let's see. Next, we're going to create our environment finally after working really hard. See you in the next one.